Hey everyone, this is SRC543 with another video on NES Pokemon Yellow. Now, something that's really fascinated me, especially in recent years, about this game, is the weird behavior of its damage. For those of you not in the know, rather than using your opponent's defense for damage calculation, your Pokemon uses their own defense and special defense. And obviously this is very wrong, and it has all sorts of ramifications. It makes Pokemon like Onix even worse than usual. But it also goes beyond that. It actually really skews the level scaling. It makes higher level Pokemon really struggle to take out lower level ones, at least compared to the Game Boy official versions of the game. So something that I want to try for myself, now that I have just enough hacking knowledge to try this out, is I wanted to see how the game would function, or not function, if the damage formula worked so-called correctly like it does in the Game Boy version. And that's what I'm going to be doing today. What I've done is I've written a Lua script in FCEUX that's going to switch the defense and special defense values of both Pokemon during battle. Basically indirectly fixing the damage formula. Because while our Pokemon will still be targeting their own defenses for attacks, it'll be borrowing our opponent's defensive values, so it actually kind of cancels out and works somewhat correctly and similar to the official games. So with that being said, let's take a look at the script and how it works. If you aren't interested in this and the technical mumbo jumbo, I will have a bookmark in the video and you can skip forward to the gameplay and see exactly how this works. So let's open this baby up in Visual Studio Code and I will walk you through what this does. So first of all, I have a table of every defense and special defense value of the Pokemon in this game. So this basically correlates to their Pokedex numbers, except for the final 9, which were kind of a hodgepodge of Gen 2 and Gen 3 legendary Pokemon. This will be relevant later. Now let's go into the actual loop where this actually does things. First, our script is going to check the level of our opponent's Pokemon. Basically, we want to make sure we're in a battle, otherwise there's not really any point in switching the defense and special defense values, and that's just going to cause more confusion when you look at the stat screens. So, if our opponent's Pokemon level is greater than 0, then we'll run the script. The script will read the byte that stores our Pokemon's level. It will read the species number of our Pokemon and our opponent's Pokemon. And using that species number, it will find the base defense and special defense that Pokemon has. And using these levels and species levels, we can actually recalculate from scratch what each Pokemon's defense and special defense should be. So that's 0.01 times 2 times the stat times level plus 5 for all 4 of these babies. Now the tricky thing here is we're actually going to take these values and assign them to the opposite Pokemon. So our Pokemon's defense is going to be written to our opponent's Pokemon defense, and so forth. And that is basically just to cancel out the error in the programming that causes the defense and special defense to be calculated from the wrong Pokemon. So to summarize, right stat, wrong calculation means wrong outcome. But wrong stat and wrong calculation equals the right outcome. So it works in its very weird and roundabout way. Now, that's fine and all. We're going to take those values and write them where we want them. There's one last thing we got to take a note here. So, obviously, Pokemon stats can go above 255. And the problem with that here is that means these values take up more than 1 byte. Now, if these stats are below 255, we can just ignore this. They take up a single byte. We don't need to make any adjustments. However, if the stat is above 255, the way the game's coded is it will load a 1 into the next byte, and that's going to count for 255. So let's say the stat is 300. Their value in the second byte will be 1, so 255. And their value in the first byte will be 45. So 45 plus 255 equals 300. So we have we have a little bit of extra code with conditionals to kind of reflect that behavior. If the value is above 255, we'll put a 1 in that second byte and subtract 255 from the initial byte. So we get the correct values if the Pokemon stat is really high. And this actually does come into play for the final battle of the game. As using, or the developer, or Brendan, or whatever you want to call him, his Pokemon are all level 100, and some have absolutely enormous stats, so we gotta account for that. And one more thing before we end the script. So, because the defense and special defense stats don't work correctly, this also bleeds into the modifiers. So, attacks like Tail Whip, which decrease your opponent's defense. This has the unintended side effect of actually increasing their damage output in the original game, which is absolutely not what we want to do when we're fixing damage. However, I can't really think of an easy way to fix this because it's actually kind of tricky to just switch two values outright. If someone can think of any way to do this in the comments, let me know and I can add that functionality. So just as a little bandage, I set all defense modifiers to 0. So Tail Whip, instead of being actively detrimental to you, will just do nothing. And attacks like Bulk Up, which normally do nothing, the attack and defense increases would cancel out. They'll still increase your attack at least, even if the defense modifiers still don't work correctly. And finally, to top it off, we will advance the frame and FCU a few times to keep it going. In a regular loop, you'll just advance the frame one time, but I throw a few more in here. I think this will help the performance and keep the script from running as often. It doesn't need to run every single frame, but I could be I could be wrong in how this works. I'm definitely a beginner in Lua and FCU scripting. And that's the end of it. So hopefully that made sense. And I will now show you how this runs in the emulator. And to do that, and enjoy some Enjoy a view of my OBS as I open FCEUX again. So, to run this script, obviously we're going to have the game open. We'll go to File, go to Lua, go to our recent script, and we will open the script. And obviously, if you haven't ran the script before, you'll need to open it. And in that case, you'll go to Browse. You will find the script wherever you have it stored on your computer, and you will click it open, and then you will make sure it is running. Now, since this is the overworld, it won't be doing anything, but once we go into battle, we will notice that our Nidoran's defenses have successfully been switched with Geodude's. So now that it's attacking its own stats, that will have a big impact on damage output for both Geodude and for Nidoran. Anyway, that is the Lua script and how you can load it into the game. Now I'll show you a few battle demonstrations and show you how these battles play out in the original version of NES Yellow and NES Yellow with the values edited with the script. I already have these battles recorded, so I'm just going to be commentating them. This is Brock without the script. I have a pretty standard speedrunning team with a couple Nidorans, a Caterpie, and a Pidgey alongside my Pikachu, and I'll explain how this battle works as we begin. So first we have a Geodude. The Geodude is kind of a pain. It can do a lot of damage to our Pokemon. So I'm just gonna have Pidgey come in and throw some sand attacks. I don't use Pidgey a lot in this battle, but I had one earlier to help with Viridian Forest. So basically we gotta whittle Geodude's attack down a little bit to keep our Nidorans safe. They have a little bit low HP. They're still using their original defenses here, but their HP values are very low. And they attack with Pursuit, which, while a special move, doesn't have very high attack power due to their stats. Low stats and low base power. So this is going to be something like a 8-hit or 10-hit KO on Geodude. And that necessitates potion usage and taking a lot of hits, and that's why we do the growls. That's why we do the sand attacks. And the reason why I don't do more sand attacks is sand attack is not as good as in the Game Boy version. The accuracy modifiers seem to be a lot more fair, and while they exist, they aren't really game-breaking as you'd expect. So, Nidoran takes down Geodude. And now there's a Zubat and a Vulpix that are exclusive to the Lugia translation patch, and this is to make the game a bit more like the anime, which is a cool touch. We use Thunder Wave here because it is broken. Our opponent's Pokemon won't be able to attack around 75% of the time. And while Zubat isn't super threatening, it can use status moves like Supersonic, so we do want to prevent it from attacking if we can. And 25% isn't 0%, so we still take a couple Supersonics, which isn't great, but we're fine here. Pikachu hits itself in confusion again, that's alright. Pikachu hits itself in confusion again. That's alright. We're not speedrunning here. We can eat a little bit of a time loss. Though we are going to use a potion here. We have a good supply, so we can spare one here. Now, Vulpix Tail Whipped us. That increases Pikachu's damage output, but our Pikachu doesn't know Quick Attack yet, so that doesn't actually have any effect here. So Pikachu will just whittle it down with Thunder Shock here. I believe that will be a 5-shot, if not a 6-shot. And we will let that happen. After this, we will have Onix. Onix is as much of a threat as Geodude because it targets its own defenses, and that makes its physical attacks naturally quite weak. Though we are still going to grout a bit to make it so we don't have to use potions as much. So Pikachu can take a few hits here and still be okay. We'll keep growling. Why not? Mudshot will still do some damage, even with the modifiers. That's fine. Feint Attack, which is actually Pursuit. It only has 40 base power. That will still hit for the normal amount. And Pikachu feints, and now we can get to the good part. And Nidoran is just going to slowly grind down Onix with Pursuit here. Though actually, we need to decrease Onix's speed first here. And in the normal game, this would mostly be useless, but this is very important as our opponent's item behavior is the same as it is for moves. So our opponent, Brock, won't be able to use an item until his Pokemon is able to attack. In the Game Boy version, Brock just has full heals, so this really doesn't matter, but in this game, he has max potions. We do not want Brock to be using max potions, so we get his speed low enough so he's attacking second. And we avoid that max potion range, so we're still able to KO him without any item shenanigans. So Nidoran will still be taking some damage here. Note that another difference between this game's damage and the original is special attacks do not, or critical hits do not ignore defense and attack modifiers. So Nidoran is absolutely safe even from a critical Mud Slap. So Brock's still not in max potion range here as of at the start of this turn. That means Nidoran can attack again before Brock is able to use a max potion. And that's the battle. That clocks in at about 6.5 minutes. Not ideal, but this does stop a lot of grinding that you would need to do for something like Mankey or a Butterfree. So it's still the route I would normally use in a speedrun. Alright, next we'll be facing Brock with our Lua script active, and this will be the same team and all that. The strategy will be quite similar. We'll still be using Sand Attack to start off the battle. We don't want Geodude hitting our stuff. It hurts, it does a lot of damage. Mud Slap can miss here, so we can get a few Sand Attacks in here, even with Geodude's scary tackles. We're still relatively fine here. So Geodude's tackle doing about 8 damage as opposed to the 4 you would expect in the base game. Not great. I'm doing 9 damage on Nidoran here. Nidoran has lower defense than Pidgey, and since we're running the script, that actually matters now. We get a miss from Mud Slap, that's good. And we gotta keep growling here to keep Geodude in check. These mud slaps and tackles are doing a lot of damage, even with a few growls in play. Ooh, the miss is really unfortunate. Though at least the sand attacks we did earlier, they are helping out a little bit. Even with sand attack being weaker, it still does something here, so they're nice to have. And now we can start attacking Geodude. And this is doing much worse damage with the script in place. So Geodude's special defense just is marginally better than in the base game, but it's just enough of a difference to just be a total pain in the neck. Nidorann's level is just so low that when it's targeting its own stats, it's actually doing more damage, even against a Pokemon like Geodude that's known for its very shoddy special defense. So we're in Mud Slap range, we're gonna use another potion here. Still eating 6, not ideal. This is Feint attack number 6. Another miss. And note that even if this was actually Feint attack and not pursuit, attacks like Swift that don't miss don't have that functionality programmed in this game, so missing would be totally normal for a move like that. And note that in this version of the run, we are burning through potions very quickly against this Geodude. Even with all these growls, it's still doing pretty good damage with Mud Slap, and our Pokemon are doing less damage. Not ideal at all. Fortunately, it appears that Brock is either out of max potion range or rolled and decided not to use one. And Geodude is down here, so we're back to the normal-ish part of the battle. Get a miss here. So Pikachu still doing pretty good damage against Zubat here. Zubat's higher level than Pikachu, but it's not nearly as big of a difference as Geodude and Nidoran. So damage output is very similar to it was in the original version of NES Yellow. And we'll see similar behavior with our scuffle against Vulpix here. Vulpix still gonna take several hits for Thundershock here, but it's not going to be a problem to take down like Onix and Geodude are. Now this is looking like a 7 or 8 hit. Again, not great, but not a problem. We can paralyze Vulpix. It's not going to be able to attack very much. It's fine. Soon we'll be getting the Onix, and we will both be decreasing Onix's speed with Caterpie to avoid max potion usage, but also we'll be hitting Onix with some sand attacks. We'll also growl a bit with Pikachu first. Pikachu cannot damage Onix, so we might as well get any value out of Pikachu that we can here. Now note that Onix it's not targeting its own defense anymore. So this helps its damage output. And since it's doing super effective damage, even with all those growls, it's doing 6 damage to Pikachu, which is very scary. So we have Growl basically maxed out, and we're gonna have to go at this Onyx with just a single Nidoran, and this is not going to be a successful endeavor. The other problem with Onyx compared to Geodude is even though its damage output physically is slightly lower, it is guaranteed to do 7 damage with Pursuit, which really sucks for Nidoran because its special defense is very bad. And its HP is quite low. So we will make sure we get enough string shots in, so our Nidoran will be attacking first. And we will also get some chip shots in with Caterpie before it's taken down by the Sonics, which should be rather soon. Oof, that Feint Attack is doing 7 or 8. It's not great. Not great at all. This Tackle is doing a single damage, not a big help, but I guess it sort of adds up. I also do not think the AI has any PowerPoint limits, so we're not eating into these mud slaps or anything either. It's just not great. Now our Nidoran will be using Feint Attack against its Onyx. This is like a 12-hit KO with its substantially higher level than Nidoran. Damage output becomes a huge problem, even when we're attacking it especially. And this battle goes very poorly. So we can definitely do some damage to this Onyx. The problem is we're going to run out of potions here. And even if we're able to whittle it down enough, it would be in max potion range, and it's going to recover because we're not going to be able to do enough damage before we can knock it out. So I won't say this battle is impossible with the script, but it's certainly pain in the neck. And even if you catch a level 6 Nidoran, or you level up Nidoran to level 6 using the Lightyear trainer pictured on the bottom left there, this battle is still really annoying. Geodude and Onyx are much more durable. And this is kind of just a microcosm of all the problems that altering the damage formula from this game's original state can create. Next, I'll be showing off the bonus battle against the developer and the game without the script running. We'll be abusing Magneton's ability to use Thunder Wave and its great metal typing to take attacks from our opponent's legendaries and paralyze them and grind them into easy knockouts. So Raikou will be targeting its own special defense, which is really high, as opposed to Magneton's, which is very low. And that results in Magneton only taking 33 from this hit, despite only being level 40. So we'll try to keep our Magneton in tip shape here. Raikou avoids the paralysis proc and hits Mewtwo pretty hard here. That's fine, we have some potions. And look at Mewtwo, even at 29 levels lower than Raikou, this is a 3-shot with strength, which isn't even its best attack. So this makes these level 100 legendaries basically paper tigers. If you're able to paralyze them, they are extremely vulnerable. And you can hit them with level 40 Magneton pretty easily. Entei's still pretty strong, rolling kick, it's super effective. That's a one-shot against Magneton. We have a couple revives here. Entei's rolling kick is one of the easiest ways to lose this battle with my current setup. So, good to take note of that. Machoke, just here to eat hits and use that revive here. Growl, that's perfect for us. Magneton does not even attack physically, really. And we can bring in Golbat, or Golduck here. You'll use a Surf. And even with its attack not all that high, with the critical hit, this will be a 3-shot against the level 100 Pokemon. So this attack is doing great damage. And because of paralysis, we'll be able to attack first and knock it out before a developer is able to use a max potion here. And we'll bring back Magneton. Suicune will use Bubble Beam. It'll do okay damage, not great. Suicune has very high special defense. That really neuters its damage potential. Even with decent typing against Magneton, it just struggles to knock him out. Speaking of knocking out, we can actually use Magneton here. Its Thunderbolt is going to be a 3-shot against Suicune. Magneton is using its own special attack, special defense stat, and own special attack stat, resulting in very good damage output on the special side here. So good damage plus super effectiveness, great outcome for Magneton there against Suicune. Air Cutter basically going to do nothing with the quadruple resistance. We'll make sure our Magneton is in good shape here. And same strategy as versus Suicune. Kyogre has pretty good HP, but that won't be enough to stop this from being an easy 3-shot because, again, Magneton's special defense stat is very low and we're targeting it rather than Kyogre's own special defense stat, which is extremely high. That takes us to Groudon. We cannot paralyze Groudon, so I'm just gonna kind of wind it down with Psybeam with Mewtwo here. And without super effective damage, this is about a 5-shot. Groudon targeting itself rather than Mewtwo, not dealing great damage either, so we're pretty safe here. The only tricky thing about this Pokemon is we have to avoid being in max potion range, so otherwise it's going to stall the battle out. Tackle, don't really care about that. Alright, and we're out of max potion range, so we are good here. The final Pokemon is Rayquaza. Rayquaza's defenses are actually pretty bad compared to its offenses, so its flying attack can do a ton of damage, even with the faulty damage formula. Luckily, Magneton has quadruple resistance against flying moves, and this battle really isn't an issue for him. Our damage output is a little bit low since Thunderbolt is neutral against Flying/Dragon, but with Rayquaza being neutered due to the glitchy paralysis behavior, this really isn't a problem either. Overall, this battle against the developer with a Magneton and Mewtwo and a support Pokemon or two is relatively safe. There are some fail points here with Entei. Entei can be a pain if we don't paralyze it and it keeps one-shotting Magneton, but other than that, we can beat the battle pretty quickly and rather consistently. Alright, now I'm going to show off the developer battle with the Lua script running. So, These level 100 Pokemon will be doing the damage they're supposed to be doing, and suffice to say, this is not good for us, and this battle is going to go very poorly, as you'll soon find out. So Raikou will bite Magneton, and it's a one-shot. So I could use a revive here, but I opt to reset the game here and try again. Unfortunately for Magneton here, most of Raikou's attacks are special attacks, and those are going to target Magneton's very low, just dreadfully low special defense. And even with resistance here, Magneton is going to be one-shot by this level 100 Raikou with no issues whatsoever. All we can basically do here is pray for a status move like a Growl. And hope that Paralysis kicks in and we can finish him off with something like a Mewtwo. So we'll keep trying here, but it's dubious to say the least. Thunder Shock, and it's a critical. Magneton might be able to survive a Thunder Shock because its base power is so low, but with that critical hit, we wouldn't even know. So we try again. This is going extremely well, isn't it? Quick Attack! Alright! Only 31? Using Magneton's defense, so we're actually able to survive that. Magneton's defense much better than special defense, and Quick Attack also a pretty low base attack move. Mewtwo will be using Psybeam, its strongest attack, and it's doing about like 12% to Raikou. This is bad. This is really bad. Mewtwo's our heaviest hitter by a wide margin. And we proc Confusion here. Pokemon cannot have two statuses at the same time. So now Raikou is confused. And unless the Confusion status procs... Oh, it does hit. Okay. So we just barely squeezed by Raikou on like 5 attempts. And we needed some good luck to do it. It's not great. That brings us to Entei. It uses Ember. That's an easy one-shot. And we can try to damage it with Golduck here. Ember doing about 20-something%. Our Surf is doing like 15%. This really isn't a competitive battle at all. Entei needs to be paralyzed for this to even be remotely close, and very few of Entei's attacks here are going to let Magneton survive. So this is a very low percentage battle. Maybe if you have a similar setup on a higher level team, you can buy some consistency here, but overall, you're really feeling a level advantage that to develop here. This is basically hopeless. Mewtwo's trying their best here. Alright. Alright, we got a Confusion proc. And he's in max potion range. This is just wonderful, ain't it? Entei's Bite gonna do very good damage here. Yuck. And we can Hyper Potion here to prolong the battle, but we're still not really getting that far here. And Double Edge. Yeah, this is pretty hopeless. Flame Wheel on Magneton. Yeah, I've seen enough here. So after how poorly that initial battle with the script writing went, I wanted to see if this is even possible, so I'll be playing this real time with Savestates. And we'll see how many we need to even get through here. Quick attack, good start. Magneton can survive that. And now we can grind Raikou down with Mewtwo. Or Machoke? Okay. I'll show off Machoke here. Barely surviving. That's wonderful. And, yeah, that's the power of level 100, folks. So Mewtwo attacking with Strength and Psybeam. This is like an 8-shot or something. It's lousy. But yeah, if we paralyze Raikou here and we have decent luck, this isn't terrible, I guess. I mean, hitting a bunch of 75s is possible. Surviving an attack from Raikou is possible, but yeah, we certainly need some luck here to get through here. Next we have Entei. Magneton is gonna really struggle to survive against Entei's attacks. So I save a state here. It uses Bite. Magneton cannot survive that. It uses Rolling Kick. Nope. Flamethrower. Nope. Rolling Kick. Nope. Growl. Yep. So out of the 4 attacks this Entei was generated with, it has a certain move pool, and it's going to have 1 move guaranteed and 3 at random. Magneton is only able to survive 1 of them, so again, this is a very low percentage strategy. Certainly possible to make it this far without save states, but not fun at all. Golduck, targeting Entei's special defense Prosper. Even with the high base attack of special defense, or even with the high base attack of Surf, Entei's special defense is very high, and Golduck's special attack is relatively low, since it's half of Entei's level. This is still pretty tough. Alright, next up we have Suicune. This dog is also a problem for Magneton. All of its special attacks are going to one-shot it. Fortunately, we are able to paralyze it before it causes any problems, and we can finish it off with Mewtwo here. Now, Psybeam is an issue here because it can cause Suicune to be confused, erasing its paralysis in the process, but our damage output is so bad here, I kind of want to keep using it anyway. Also, with its use of Growl, the damage output with Strength is going to be very poor, so we're kind of stuck with Psybeam here. Overall, this battle against Suicune isn't too bad if we get good luck with Magneton here to get the paralysis. It can certainly bite Mewtwo here and potentially two-shot it, but definitely a lot less of an issue than Entei, and I actually don't think we need to use a single save state there. Next up is Kyogre. Ooh boy. So Supersonic, notably a move that does not one-shot Magneton, but unfortunately he hits himself in confusion, so we gotta restart here. Taking a mulligan, and we get the paralysis off here, so that's nice. And we're gonna switch to Mewtwo. And we'll try Strength a few times this time to avoid the confusion. Damage output here is horrible. Kyogre's defenses are great, and its HP is very high. Doesn't feel good at all. Luckily, Mewtwo cannot be one-shot by any of Kyogre's attacks, though it is going to take substantial damage here. Obviously, the flinch doesn't matter here. Flinch does nothing in this game, even if the Pokemon attacks first, so worth noting that. And we trigger confusion. This is very bad for us. I switch into Magneton again here, just hoping to have some decent luck. And I decide to save another state to avoid any issues. So again, we're gonna be using confusion. This will be like this is like a 10 shot or something. That's really bad. But we'll be doing 130 to Mewtwo here, necessitating a Hyper Potion, even without super effective damage. So yeah, this is another Pokemon definitely possible without save states. Huge pain in the neck when you're not using them though. And that's kind of the problem with this battle. All the individual Pokemon, super possible, even with the script running with a big level disadvantage. You just need a ton of luck with Paralysis though, and with Magneton Survival, it isn't great at all. And next up is Groudon. Oh boy. Without Weepin' Bell, I do not have a Pokemon that can paralyze Groudon here. So we just gotta have to take it out with Psybeam. Psybeam is something like an 8-shot here, so that's good. Unfortunately, Mewtwo is still taking a ton of damage. Thunder Wave is brutal. Paralysis works properly for us, so we're still gonna be able to attack 75% of the time, but it still isn't great. And the other issue here is with Paralysis, we're going to be attacking second, and that's going to cause problems with the developer's Max Potion down the line. If he attacks first, that gives him a bigger window to Max Potion. If he Max Potions, that's a nightmare for Mewtwo because that's like 8 more attacks. Actually, Mewtwo's gonna run out of Psybeam, so that's gonna be more like 10 more attacks. And we're gonna use this Paralysis heal and actually just hope Groudon doesn't Thunder Wave us again. Fortunately, even though Groudon's attacks are very strong, oops. And that's a Max Potion, so yeah, we're gonna reload there. Developer's in Max Potion range, so he is extremely likely to heal up here, so we're gonna have to try over and over again. And again, if he Max Potions even once, like, it's close to over. It takes so many power points and so many so many potions to get through a loop of this. So I'm just going to keep trying here until either critical or the developer decides not to use a max potion, and we're finally able to rig it. That brings us to Rayquaza here. So Magneton, quadruple resistance against Aeroblast. He's actually still able to survive Aeroblast, just barely. So that's one break we actually catch here. Quite handy. And Magneton's Thunderbolt's gonna do pretty bad damage, but we can get some pokes in. Mewtwo isn't doing great damage here either. So, yeah, get the mileage I can out of these Thunderbolts while Magneton is in. And I'll save some states just in case Rayquaza does some more nuking. Obviously, we're safe from Aeroblast, but we wouldn't be safe from a critical Aeroblast or if it uses a special attack. And now that Dragon Dance can one-shot Magneton. So yeah, this Thunderbolt is what, like a 15 shot or something with Magneton? It's not great. It's gonna be a little bit better with Mewtwo, but you can tell we're needing a lot of luck with these 75% paralysis procs to hit here. And again, none of these events are really that unlikely in isolation. That's why this battle isn't all that bad with save states. But when you add all these things together, this is like a success rate of like 1% or lower to win this battle. It's not great at all. And it's a grind. And look at that, we have a max potion here. Alright, well, Magneton grinded him out. It took probably like 3 or 4 times as many attacks as in the initial run. Which, oof. Certainly this battle is possible with the script running and attack and special attack, or attack and special, or defense and special defense working properly. But I mean, we used a ton of save states, and that battle took twice as long as in the normal game. So this is a huge pain in the neck. And overall, as neat as it is to see this game work so-called properly with defenses, it really is a worse experience than playing the game as it normally is. The battles just last longer. The level gaps with the AI are just really painful during the end game. As you might know, the experience curves are super whack, and even during end game, your best Pokemon, unless you capture them from a wild, are going to be level 40. It sucks. It's a grind. You need a lot more luck. You're going to run into max potions because your damage output isn't high enough. So yeah, we fixed the game, sort of, but in the process of fixing it, we actually broke it. And in the end, the jankiness regarding this game's damage calculation makes it a more balanced and more fun game, even if it makes Onyx very, very sad.